Climate Watch, going electric is gaining popularity as some experts believe it could be the key to cutting greenhouse gas emissions. While some experts say the key to slowing climate change is to slow deforestation, use energy more efficiently, and adopt renewable energy. Many of those require government regulations and funding, but scientists say a more simplistic way for consumers to do their part is to use clean electric energy. For more on this, I'd like to bring in University of Dayton Sustainability Program Director Bob Brecha. We also have Binghamton University Systems Science and Industrial Engineering Professor Ken McLeod. Bob and Ken, welcome to both of you. It's great to have you with us. Ken, I'm going to start with you. Can you explain how going electric, whether it be your home or your vehicle, helps the environment?
So I think
sorry, Ken, will you go? Ken, you go first.
Yes. Okay. So, there are certainly some advantages. I've worked in the area, for example, of induction shops, which are viewed as a good move because they're about 90% efficient relative to gas or electric ranges, which are 10, 15%, less efficient. So in principle, they can be a good thing. They've been very popular in Europe for a long time, in part because natural gas been very high. But you also have to take into consideration the source of the electricity, a very important factor. So while your natural gas stove may only be 75% efficient, you have to factor in the induction stove might be 90% efficient. Where did that electricity come from? So at the power plant, if the power plant is 70% efficient or 65% efficient, we're really talking about 90 times 70 or 60% efficient. So overall, you have to look at the system efficiency, not necessarily just the appliance efficiency. So there, in the case of induction stoves, there are many benefits from the point of view of the chef, but from an energy savings point of view, you can't ignore the whole system. It's very important.
And so, Bob, I want you to both address what some of the potential downsides are, perhaps, of going electric, but also if you could tell us about the latest iteration of electric cars and how they're, the transition to electric cars is being made easier and easier with each, passing month.
Yes, I think if we go back to the main point, which is the Paris Agreement and the science behind that tells us how to keep the worst impacts of the climate crisis from affecting us, then it says we need to, by the middle of the century, be out of fossil fuels. We need to be at zero emissions, essentially, carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels. And so that means that we need to switch to renewable energy. And we know that some of the potential disadvantages are that we have fluctuating renewables like wind and solar, but we've gotten so much better at storing that with batteries and to knowing how to even predict better when the wind is going to be blowing and the sun is going to be shining, that we can get past all of that. Those are things we can deal with.
Right. The renewables keep getting better. The renewables across the board keep getting better and better. But tell us specifically about the cars, because I know there are a lot of people right now who are out there scratching their heads saying, like, hey, is this the time to switch over? Would it be practical for me to get an electric car right now?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's time to start thinking we need to be doing this. We need to be switching. And the reason, the advantages are that electric vehicles are much cheaper to operate than gasoline vehicles. And they are getting to the point where they're equally expensive or equally cheap to buy as an internal combustion engine vehicle. We're building up the charging infrastructure in parallel with the electric vehicles coming down in price. And that's just going to keep happening even more. So we're ready to do this. The switch is available. And as Kenneth said, in parallel, we're also going to be switching to renewable energy. And so then that makes it cleaner. But even right now, the electric vehicles are cleaner to operate in terms of carbon emissions almost everywhere in the country.
That's really good news for a lot of people who do want to switch. So, Ken, there are concerns, though, about the materials used when going electric, like the lithium batteries, the pollution they can cause, both in the mining process and disposal. So is this something that scientists are taking on? What can you tell us about the progress being made in recycling these power sources?
Well, batteries are going to play a huge question, and example would be, parking your car after work, into your garage, and I was talking for cooking. So the two big appliances in your home are your air conditioning and your electric range. So you come home and you pop up the air and you turn on your electric range to start, cooking dinner. And so between roughly 5 p.m. 8, 9 p.m. is where we have an enormous energy. The energy usage in the country rises 3-4-fold. Where is that going to come from? And that's really what power companies worry about. It's not what's happening during the daytime. It is that evening spike. And if the batteries sitting in your garage can contribute to providing part of that evening spike in power demand, that would be a huge thing. But there's all sorts of research going on. You're absolutely right. There's an alternative batteries called supercapacitors. And these do not, in general, require these kind of dangerous, hard to find, expensive materials to recycle. And so I think we'll see supercapacitors playing a huge role. And again, it is not so much what's in your house. It is what is the system providing? How is the system going to provide this energy, this huge spike in the evening? And it's not going to be with batteries. I mean, we're going to do it through water storage or much larger geophysical type of constructs to store energy. So batteries will play a role, but there's a lot of research going into how do we store on a very large scale, not on a relatively small scale to drive a single car or a single appliance. So we'll see much more of that, and that'll be very, very important.
Exciting new developments in clean energy. Bob Brecha, Ken McLeod, thank you for joining us and telling us about them.